Hello and welcome to the wonderful world of Innova, alive and composing, where today's guest is Nick Vasallo. Please state your name for the record, Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Vasallo.
And the viewers are always eager to know what kind of pets our composers have. Do you have a pet at home?
Yes, I have 3 cats. The oldest is Holly. She's about 12 years old. Then Nemo is 7 years old. And our newest, Zool, who's 2 years old.
Okay, that's great. They each have wonderful names. What's the story behind those names in a nutshell?
Pretty much Holly, I just like the name Holly, and she looked like a holly. And Nemo, he liked water, so we named him Nemo. And Zool is named after the character in Ghostbusters.
Great, so you've got like personal connections, you're integrating your life with your names, and we're getting at the very kernel of composition here. And yeah. I know you spend a lot of time, teaching and making music in a billion variety of ways that we'll get to, but when you're not doing that, how do you spoil yourself? Do you have a certain guilty pleasure?
Yes, my guilty pleasure is watching and analyzing mixed martial arts. I like to watch fights, and when I'm not teaching, I usually start training and in the summer and getting in shape by doing jiu-jitsu and such.
That's great. So this is not just a couch sport for you, it's or an analytical brain activity. You're able to kill people in a variety of quiet ways.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, that's always handy in a new music concert. What's your weirdest dream? Do you have recurring dreams, or one that you just can never quite forget nor figure out why?
I have 3 really weird recurring dreams. The first has been happening since childhood. Pretty much Godzilla is destroying the planet, and I'm trying to run away from Godzilla. The second weird dream that happens is there's a zombie apocalypse, and I'm pretty much just killing zombies left and right with weapons. And the third dream is it always happens at my parents' house on that street. There's vampires flying in the air chasing me, and I'm running from vampires. Those are the 3 weirdest dreams that happen.
Oh, I thought that was just like real life in your neighborhood this morning.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Godzilla part, yes, that's true.
And where is your neighborhood?
I live in Dublin, California. It's a pretty nice suburban area. Nothing too crazy.
Okay, that's up north somewhere in the Near Bay, perhaps, or?
Yeah, it's in the East Bay area. Before that, I lived in Santa Cruz and in Hayward, San Leandro, but we've settled down nicely in Dublin. It's a little more quiet here and friendly.
Is there something about your personality, your DNA, that just gravitates towards this kind of area, community, DNA? Do you feel at home there, that you can do all of the things you're interested in?
Yes, I love the Bay Area. I mean, I grew up here. The food is great. There's always something to do. San Francisco is right nearby. And luckily, I can find work teaching around the Bay Area.
Okay, I know there's Alcatraz, which isn't exactly a desert island, but if you were marooned on such a desert island and you had just, 2 or 3 MP3s, are there some pieces that are in your blood that, just make you cry or make you homesick, or something that you would like to listen to over and over again?
Yeah, you know what? Okay, I would pick Oh Darling by the Beatles, and, the second one's gotta be pretty epic, so, what would I pick? Okay, the score for Psycho by Bernard Herrmann.
Great, but you're proving to be a wonderfully difficult to pin down kind of artist with an octopus range of interest and taste, so we'll get to that too. Is there like a mind-blowing work of art that changed your life? It doesn't have to be music, but a poem or a picture or an experience that you had that you just thought, wow, art can do that. That's what I want to do.
Well, I can tell you the 2 moments that really changed my life as a musician. When I saw my first metal show in Oakland, I saw this band called L-Dopa, and they just played this really doomy, dark, distorted kind of metal, and it totally shook me and hit me at the root of my soul, and I really wanted to, start playing metal after that. And then about 10 years later, a similar occurrence happened. I saw the San Francisco Taiko Dojo perform a private concert, and the music, the primal, the primal energy of it moved me so much that I had tears in my eyes, and it wasn't from being sad at all. It was just because the music was so overwhelming and powerful that it affected me. So I think I knew after that I wanted to get into taiko music and metal music a lot more.
What's your first sound memory as a child? Doesn't have to be music.
My first memory I have as a child, I was in the backyard of my house, my parents' house in Pittsburgh, and there were caterpillars all over the place and kind of crawling on the ground, falling off the tree. And I remember being really scared by these caterpillars. They're kind of like intense looking and really gross. And I was just squishing them with my feet on the ground and just looking at them.
Was there a sound associated, or is that your first memory? Do you have a sound that you that kind of entered your brain around that time as well?
Yeah, it's kind of the sound of like orange. It's hard to describe. I don't know what the sound is coming from either. Just the memory sounds like an orange memory to me. It feels very warm and but weird, if that makes any sense.
Great. And what's been your career low point? You've ventured into all kinds of wonderful musical territories. Was there a point where you just said, why am I doing this? Or why are they throwing those oranges at me right now?
Yeah, I'd have to say the first year of grad school was the hardest year of probably my life. I just got overwhelmed with things, both school and personal, and I didn't feel like writing anymore. I just didn't feel like composing, but I kind of hammered out one of the pieces on the CD called The Battle Within, and the title is totally representative of what was going on. Just trying to figure out if I'm doing what I want to do, and if this is going to be the right way to go for my future. But I did it, and it worked out. But that was probably the lowest point.
And tell me about your significant teachers, what you've learned from them, and what you like to pass on to the next generation. Any words of advice and handy tips?
Yeah, one of the first things I learned as a young composer was from Frank LaRocca. I remember I brought him a piece of music, and it just like had all these ideas and went everywhere, and he really kind of got upset and was like, "What are you doing with this piece? It's like a circus. There's nothing to focus on. There's all these different things going on." So he really kind of ingrained in my brain, focus on less and, concentrate on one idea. And then, I had Jeff Miller after that, and Jeff was really good at just saying, just go with your instincts and, whatever happens, and let it come out. And my last teacher, David Evan Jones, who really let me grow. He made me more aware of my kind of overall composing, as in stepping back from a piece and looking at the forest rather than getting wrapped up in the trees. So those are all kind of the things I try to push on with my composition students, is all those lessons that I learned from my previous teachers.
How will you like your music? Would an outsider meet you and say, "Oh, of course, that kind of music is going to come out of you"?
Sometimes a lot of my friends can say I'm pretty intense and moody, and so I guess my music kind of reflects that in some sense. But I also like the really calm, beautiful sonorities, and I would say that it might be pretty accurate. Me being a Type 1 Scorpio, and my music kind of reflecting that as well.
Now, I know you've written about polystylism and multiple styles being the music of now and the future. How is that different from the multiple styles of the past? When Mozart threw in a Turkish drum or or Stravinsky did ragtime?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say their way of appropriation and mine aren't so different, in a sense that, you know, we both found, you know, non-Western elements, or in Stravinsky's sense, you know, non-European elements of music that they wanted to incorporate. But in a sense, they were framing it in, you know, through a classical lens. I kind of like changing the lens I look through. I mean, I sometimes approach writing a piece from a total metal perspective, and it just, you know, fits classically sometimes. Or, you know, I might approach something with a purely taiko perspective, with, you know, the feeling of just purely rhythm and earth, and, you know, sounds like that. And classical is always the second or third kind of priority I have. So I think in that sense, I change the priorities in that my eclecticist stylistic references take prominence over, you know, modern classical art music.
Can you describe a little bit more about what a metal composition process is like?
Yeah, you know, so let's say I'm writing a piece, and this is a good example. I just finished a commission for string orchestra. I wrote a piece called Shred, and I kind of wanted to capture the energy and the feeling of thrash metal. Thrash metal has, you know, really fast distorted guitars and shredding, and the pace is frantic, the music is dark and aggressive. So I approach this as, I want to achieve this energy and this sound. I want the performers to feel like they're playing thrash metal. So when I wrote the lines and the articulations, I really wanted, you know, the performers to shred on their instruments. So, you know, they're grinding away with the bows and, you know, playing riffs that can easily be transferred on guitar, but, you know, they're adapted for strings. Also, when I want a certain sound, I'll think about it almost like a distorted guitar spectrum, where if I want some extra noise or extra feedback, you know, I'll write it out in the parts, in the string parts, so I can achieve that similar sound.
What kind of response do you get from performers and audiences? Do some performers just love to be given the permission to try this, or do some resist? And do you find certain audiences just dig it for the visceral aspect, but don't get the aesthetic side of it, or do they all like everything?
Well, luckily, I went to the rehearsal, and the performers, you know, they loved it. I think they're just so eager to play something different. The other pieces of music they're playing are pretty standard. So for them to kind of let their hair down and you know, play ugly, I think they really liked that. They liked it so much they played it again, and they didn't rehearse any of the other pieces. So that was a really big treat for me. So I mean, I think one thing I like to do as well with my music is I want the performers to have fun playing it, you know, and be able to rock out. And even if it's sloppy, I told the performers I'd rather have you play a note wrong and mean it than play the right note, but in a hesitant sort of sense, you know. I want the music to sound very confident and self-assured, so the performers, you know, should feel the same way.
Can you tell us briefly about Monuments Emerge, your amazing new innova album?
Yeah, you know, Monuments Emerge really encompasses my growth as a composer after undergrad. So right when I started the master's and doctoral program at UC Santa Cruz, I started writing a lot of music, and it was a lot different than everything I'd composed before. So it pretty much is my grad school, you know, in a nutshell, and all the different styles that I started discovering, you know, player piano music by Nankuro, taiko music, you know, I was getting really into doom metal, I was getting really into Ligeti, you know, Schoenberg, not his pitch philosophies, but his structural philosophies. I started getting into all these things, and I'm kind of a late bloomer, so it was like that Monuments Emerge is almost like a periods of discovery for me and absorption. So I discover these new cool elements, absorb them, into my body and my soul, whatever, and kind of spit out whatever happened. And so that's pretty much Monuments Emerge. Everything just influenced me and reflected off me.
Great. Well, we're listening to some of that right now, and it's been great talking to you, Nick. So best of luck with the new album and everything else that follows.
Thank you very much. It was nice being on here.